ugly. Ginika. Nobody likes me.
She was born different. What came easy for others was a mountain for her. Her parents worried. Who will love our daughter? Will society accept her? What future awaits her? Yet fate had another plan. Ginika was unlike the other maidens of her village, yet the gods placed within her a gift, a rhythm that moved the hearts of men and women alike. With every step, every sway, and every beat of the drum, she silenced the whispers of mockery and awakened the voices of awe. And then came the day that shook Obodoetse. Before the king, before the nobles, before the people and the gods themselves, Ginika did the unthinkable. With laughter on her lips and fire in her feet, she called out what no one dared to imagine, choosing as her own the very prince who had sworn never to accept her. The villagers laughed, the maidens gasped, and even the prince cursed. But the Dibia's eyes saw deeper than men, a sign, a prophecy, a destiny unfolding. Could the gods truly have chosen Ginika, the child once mocked, to become the princess of her people? A tale of shame turned to glory, a maiden once rejected, crowned by fate. Once upon a time, in the village of Obodoetse, there lived a humble couple by the name Mazi Uke and Ojigo. Both were farmers who made most of their living from selling their harvested farm products. The couple were contented and happy, except that when it was time for an additional blessing, which every family usually prayed for, things didn't come as planned. The wife had carried the pregnancy with great anticipation. The husband couldn't wait to feel the warmth of their baby in his arms. While they chatted most nights before retiring to bed, they would debate. "I want a girl," Ojigo would say, smiling. "I want a boy." "I will name him Obi, Obenaya," the husband would cut in. "Every father wants a son that will represent him when the time comes. But my husband, do not talk like the heathen. Children are the same." "I agree with you, my wife. All I ask is for a healthy child," Mazi Uke would plead, looking up. "Gods of our land," he would whisper, as both smiled warmly. The days approached, and labor kicked in. It was intense, and as hours flew by, a cry was finally heard from the hut where the midwife attended to Ojigo. "It is a girl," the midwife chorused happily. She gently cleaned the baby, but then frowned, her emotions taking another turn. "My baby?" Ojigo asked. "Ma Ego, you don't look happy. Is my baby all right?" "All right. She is all right. But I'm afraid something is not right." "What? What are you saying?" "Look," Ego said. "Her eyes, it's not normal. I think the baby is not a complete child." She gently lowered the child to her mother's bosom, and Ojigo went numb, trembling. "What do we call this?" "An abnormality." The midwife only nodded, then stepped out to announce the arrival to the father, who was waiting impatiently outside. "Both mother and daughter are doing great," she said quickly, before Mazi Uke could ask a question. But before she could finish speaking, he had dashed in. "Gods of our land," he muttered happily, arms spread as he drew closer. "Do not rejoice much, my husband. Our daughter looks different." "Different?" the now worried husband asked, feeling as though his joy and expectations were cut short. "Yes," his wife replied. "She looks different." "My God," Maziuk exclaimed. "I am sorry, my husband." "Sorry for what?" "Are you the giver of children, my wife?" "Look, I know it is too much to accept now, but believe me, no child is a mistake." "You are saying that to comfort me, my good husband. But our child may turn out to be a laughingstock. Let it be. We are not her God to decide." He consoled her that day. But deep in his heart, Mazi Uke was torn apart. He only wanted to protect his weak wife. And that was how Ginika came into their lives. She was a Down syndrome child, different from every other child. Her maturity took more time to arrive. Down syndrome is a genetic condition caused by the presence of an extra copy of chromosome 21. In the time when Ginika was born, The people were in the dark and ignorant of what Down syndrome was all about. They made up superstitious stories about her birth. Either her mother was unfaithful, or the gods were punishing the parents for some evil done in secret. "I bet," one woman once said, "who knows how she treated her own mother? Maybe she reincarnated to bring mockery, because this child is just a mockery." "Women, may we know when to close our mouths," an older woman chorused that day in a women's meeting, and her words ended the discussion. The villagers could not hold their tongues. People visited just to see this kind of a child. But Mazi and his wife were always alert to protect their daughter. Ginika was sickly most times. She battled so many difficulties. Growing up was not normal. Speaking was difficult. But with time, and much love from her parents, Ginika grew strong, energetic, and full of life. But as she grew older, her unique features became more pronounced, and tongues wagged. The people tried to bring her down with their comments. "I pity the parents. What can she do for herself?" "You are ugly," her friends at school teased. Her very first day at school was torment. She was forced to leave the class. The teacher clearly told the parents that they were wasting funds on her for nothing. "She can never learn," the teacher once told the mother. It broke her heart. "Take her to the farm." Her strength is not in education. The mother hurried home with Ginika that day. While the mother cried, Ginika only watched, mumbling some incoherent words. "Come, my beautiful child," the mother consoled. "I know you are not happy. I know you want so much to express your feelings. But time will come, you will learn, and you will be fine." Although Ginika had no beauty, hardly spoke in clear sentences, shied away from children and her mates, and avoided anything social, Ginika had a skill. She could dance like a fairy. Her dancing skill made people turn around whenever they saw her. She would twist and move to the rhythm with perfection. Her parents laughed out loud at her steps. "Go ahead, Mamamoo," her father praised. "If you cannot say it, then dance it." And everyone would laugh. Since both parents saw that dancing was her gift, they taught her the cultural steps. As she grew, she improved in her skill until it set her apart. At some point, Ginika became the most celebrated dancer in her community. The villagers could not believe it. "The gods do not make mistakes," they declared. "The gods have spoken for our daughter and given her a gift that forces people to celebrate her and draw closer to her." Ginika had few friends before, but once her gift announced her, the maidens of the community flocked around her. They began to socialize with her. She learned from them, copied their works, and improved her character. She could express herself more clearly. She dressed like them and wanted to join them in practice. Her fame grew, yet the young men still teased, "Who will marry her? That imbecile? Let her dance until her feet fall off. Nobody will marry her." "You must be fools to talk like that," one of the village boys, Okay, once defended. "It seems you have a crush on her," Afam teased. "Nonsense," Okay muttered, hurrying off. "Where are you going?" "Why don't you come back and defend her, Mr. Defense Minister?" The other boys laughed. But things became better. The community had come to accept Ginika as she was. She was seldom teased. Instead, she made people laugh by making funny moves. Life had moved into normalcy in the household of Mazi Uke and his family, until the annual Igwe celebration. The Obodoetse could not wait to watch Ginika perform. "Who wouldn't want her dance?" the villagers gossiped. "She has no shame." "Shame my foot," another replied. "You know what makes me collapse with laughter? When she rolls her hips to the drums." But truth be told, she can dance. She doesn't understand much, but she understands rhythm. The day came. It finally arrived. The long-awaited day of Jubilee. The king and his household entered with a drummer leading the way, and the people rejoiced. They praised him, dancing. His younger son danced too, his charm commanding an uproar. As they settled, prayers were offered to the gods. Suddenly, there was a cheer. "Ginika, here she comes," the villagers chorused. There stood Ginika, the village dancer, with a swag, ready to entertain her people. They cheered as the drums heated up the whole place, and Ginika began to take her steps. Gradually, as the tempo increased, she dug into the dance, swaying her hips and body as the people clapped. She was colorfully dressed, with her troop of maidens following her. She danced and smiled, and both parents could not hold back their tears. "At least," the father whispered, "she has found herself in the world." The people clapped and danced along, but suddenly something extraordinary happened. Ginika danced toward the younger prince, smiling. She stood before him, dancing and showcasing her skills. Then she muttered, Tim, meaning Dim, my husband. The people could not help but laugh. Ginika laughed too. The other girls, seeing what happened, tried to persuade her to leave. "But he is my husband." "Which husband, you fool? Imbecile!" Ikem, the prince, thundered. His brother smiled sheepishly, trying to hold his laughter. "Am I surprised? The gods have found you a wife. Since you cannot remove your eyes from anything that wears a skirt, Casanova," he cursed. But before they could quiet Ginika, the message spread like wildfire. "Ginika has found a prince for a husband." The people of Obodoetse questioned it, but while they mocked, the eyes of the gods, the Dibia, stood still, watching in deep thought. The ceremony ended later that night, more joyful than any other they had ever seen. The drama of Ginika calling the prince her husband fueled the joy of the people. Even her parents could not hold back their concern. Igwe Aguna was a fierce warrior of his people, a protector of the innocent, and a truth-sayer who stood firmly for justice. In an age when wickedness and treachery prevailed, Igwe Aguna fought tirelessly for the weak among his people. No man guilty of atrocity ever went unpunished under his reign. The cowards feared him, and the hardened, wicked men fought him fiercely, but still he did not yield. "Who are you," they mocked, "to stand against what was accepted even before your father? How do you think you can stop treachery that outlived him? You must be a fool, an ignorant man." The wicked fumed in anger whenever they gathered, drinking and plotting their next victim. Yet Igwe Aguna stood his ground, boldly combating crime and evil. Because of his reign, his people prospered and lived in peace, though evil still lurked in the shadows. Every year the land made merry to celebrate his rule. The heavens gave their waters, and the earth yielded bountifully, making Obodozes the most prosperous kingdom in the region. Igwe Aguna was blessed with many children. 2 sons were born to him by his beautiful wives, while the rest were daughters. Of them all, he was most proud, but the king's joy was limited, through no fault of his own, because of his younger son, Ikem. Ikem was handsome and calm, the kind of son every man would wish for. He was the tallest among his peers, eloquent, soft-spoken, and charismatic. Words flowed easily from his lips, and his charm drew the village youths to him like moths to a flame. "The charming prince," they would chant, fists in the air, hailing him as he bowed politely and removed his cap with a playful flourish that sent everyone into laughter. He was like a jester, the opposite of his elder brother Onochi, who carried himself like their father, kingdom-minded, articulate, humble yet firm. Onochi despised evil and upheld the rules of the kingdom with steadfastness, but in Ikem's many charms lay his greatest weakness. He was reckless and lived a carefree life. He used his wit and influence to gather wealth and power, only to squander it on women, drinking, and lavish living. He brought shame upon the royal house time and again, yet Ikem cared little. "Life is short, my father, my king," he would say. "Allow me to enjoy myself while I live, for tomorrow we will die." "You fool," the Igwe would thunder. "Drinking, partying, is this what you were born to do? Ikem, why do you constantly bring shame to me? Today it is a widow you chase. Tomorrow it is a prostitute's house where you are found. What am I to do with you, my son?" "Sacrifice me to the gods, father," Ikem retorted with a smirk. "Look at who is talking," the king scoffed. The gods would reject you as a sacrifice. At that moment, Prince Onochi rose. My father, the king, allow me to teach this young man a lesson. For how long will our enemies mock you because of him? It has not come to that, Prince Onochi, the king replied. What can we do but appease the gods on his behalf? Sacrifices were made. The gods were consulted time and again. The priest proclaimed, someone has laid a curse upon the king's son. An enemy of the throne seeks to bring you down, and so disgrace has been cast upon Ikem. I have heard enough of this incessant talk of curses, the king roared. Do something. Bind his hands if you must, sacrifice if you must, but let this shame cease. But it never did. Resources were wasted on rituals and offerings, yet Ikem only grew worse, smoking, partying, and chasing women. It was that same son whom Ginika had chosen as a husband in front of everyone that night. The royal family could not hold their laughter. Even the queen teased her son. You better learn your lesson, son, the queen said, authoritative and sharp in the presence of the court. You will face more disgrace if you continue. But she is just a wandering fool, Prince Ikem scoffed. She can make up anything. Why is everyone taking the poor thing seriously? The poor thing, the king thundered. We do not know who is poor among the two of you. Have you seen yourself? Leave my presence at once, he ordered. After that fateful day at the annual celebration, Ginika's life changed drastically. It was as if something had been planted in her. All that came from her lips was, Dim, my husband. At first, her parents thought it was a joke, but when she kept insisting on going to the palace, they became nervous. What has come over you, my daughter? Her mother asked warmly. I thought it was just one of your jokes. But he is my husband. What husband, Nuam? My child. Ikem. Beast husband. Her parents were stunned. You must be joking, Ginika. Please stop. If God wills, he will give you a man who will love and care for you. Ikem can never be your husband. But Ginika became obsessed with Prince Ikem, the charming, reckless prince of Obodoetse. She threw tantrums, calling his name in the streets. Have you seen my prince? My husband? Villagers laughed and teased. Ikem himself, embarrassed, began to avoid gatherings. The once flamboyant prince now hid from the public. Even the royal family noticed. I think something is happening to our son, the queen said to the king one evening. Since when has he become calmer? He seldom goes out drinking or partying. And what is stopping him? The king asked. Since the young girl Ginika became obsessed with him. The king smiled faintly. I wish it is true. But fate struck. Ikem's relationship with his lover ended abruptly. Tired of his reckless ways, she stormed out after slapping him, declaring, You do not know love. I am done with you. Ikem was broken. To numb his sorrow, he drank until he collapsed outside the village. It was Ginika who found him. Wrapping him with her cloth, she slept beside him. By dawn, Ikem woke to find Ginika in his arms. You, he mumbled like one in a dream. What am I doing here? Where did you come from? What happened to me? Dim, Ginika called him softly, her eyes filled with warmth. What are you talking about? Why are you here with me? God help me. Who brought you? What are you trying to do? Is this a curse or what? Now leave at once before I lose my mind, he thundered. Then, realizing that people might hear, he lowered his voice. Leave, okay, before someone sees. But I do not care, Ginika whispered. I care for you. Thank you, Ginika, but leave. I promise I will come and see you tomorrow. Really? She asked with hope in her eyes. Yes, he nodded quickly. And that was how he persuaded her, then hurried off and returned to the palace before daybreak. Meanwhile, Mazi Uke and his wife had been scouting the whole village, searching for their daughter. Finally, she did it, the wife wept. I am sure she is in trouble. Chim, why? She sobbed as they sat outside their hut after hours of futile searching. I couldn't protect my daughter. Do not blame yourself, woman, Mazi Uk consoled. It is not anyone's fault. You stopped business since this obsession started, just to keep an eye on her. What else can we do? I am afraid, my husband. Afraid. Please calm down. I am sure she will find her way home. If not by tomorrow, we will inform the community. But just as they spoke, they saw a figure approaching. It was their daughter. She's back, my husband. Ginika, Ginika, my daughter. The mother hurried forward and embraced her warmly. Where have you been? Are you all right, my child? Both parents chorused almost at once. Ginika only nodded, smiling a bit awkwardly. What happened, dear? Tell me, my daughter, the mother pressed, her curiosity sharp as she ran her eyes over Ginika. Where are you coming from? She asked again, searching her face. Ginika lowered her eyes. Allow her to breathe, Maziuk said. Bring her in. Only God knows what she has been through. The family went inside. Food was offered to their daughter. By morning she had fallen asleep, her mother sitting by her side, watching, touching, and checking to make sure she was all right. When she woke up, all she could say was, Dim, Ikem, my husband. Where were you last night, daughter? Her mother asked firmly. With Ikem, Ginika answered. Ginika, I am not joking, the mother said, her voice a little sharper. Where did you sleep? In the village. With who? With Ikem. My wife, please leave her for now, Maziuk interrupted. Allow her to process whatever happened. A month passed, and suddenly Ginika became ill. Vomiting, shivering in the mornings. She was the type who seldom fell sick, so her parents were shocked. All manner of herbs were given, but the sickness persisted. My stomach. I want to vomit, Ginika murmured. Nanyi, the mother whispered to her husband. I am afraid. These symptoms are known. Symptoms with women. What are you trying to say? The father questioned, concern filling his face. I am afraid our daughter might be pregnant. What? The husband chorused sharply. What are you talking about, woman? Pregnant? By who? Yes, my husband. The signs are there. Early morning sickness. Gods of our land, he cried. Who has done this to us? The parents wept. Are you sure, my wife? Take a look at her yourself. I feared from the day she came back from nowhere. I feared from that day her suspicion was true. Ginika was pregnant. The situation tore the family apart. Ginika herself was confused. She did not understand her body. She slept most of the time, forgetting about the prince, the villagers, everyone, and lay in her bed. Her absence was felt in the village. Questions arose. Is Ginika all right? Where is she? The people asked. But it wasn't long before her pregnancy began to show. At this point, the parents could not hide it anymore. Ginika was too confused to understand. You will have a baby, the mother tried to explain gently. Mama? Yes, you will become a mother, my daughter. Who did this to you? Did anyone take advantage of you? No, Ginika said softly. My husband loved me. Which husband? My prince. He loved me, she said, blushing. What are you saying, my daughter? The mother cried. I covered him with a cloth. I slept by his side, and he loved me. Chimu, the mother exclaimed. The father hurried off to cry at the back of the hut. It was indeed the prince that impregnated her. The day Ginika slept beside him, he slept with her in a drunk state, thinking she was her girlfriend. On waking the next morning, he found himself troubled, his heart unsteady. He kept it a secret, although his mind was not at rest. On reaching home, he sneaked into his chamber and took a quick shower, muttering, May the gods forbid. Ikem, this incident will teach you a lesson. He prayed and felt disgusted with himself. O gods, be merciful to me. But it was too late. Ginika was already pregnant with his child. The parents reluctantly visited the palace to complain. The shock was unspeakable. But how could you believe your daughter? She knows little about these things, the prince retorted. The father told him what happened. My king, my daughter spoke a few words. She did not come home until the early morning. She called the prince. The scandal was too much. The prince was outraged. He denied. He threatened. I do not want to set my eyes on you or your daughter, Miserable beggars. So your daughter wants to bring shame to me? Look at me and your daughter. Is this possible even in dreams? I will not touch your daughter, he insulted. The king was speechless, shocked. Ginika wept, the outburst making her cry as the mother tried to protect her. But as they argued, a voice was heard. It thundered like the oracle. The child is yours, prince. The voice sounded like thunder. The gods say so. On turning, the people were shocked to see the Ezedibia, the eye of the gods. My king, the day she pronounced your son her husband, the gods heard her. It was not the doing of any man. Look at me, the Dibia said, raising the staff. Prince, swear with this rod in the presence of everyone that you do not know her. But the prince could not swear. I warn you, young man, lying will destroy you. He turned and hurried off. He will marry the innocent maiden, or else this kingdom will be in trouble. The eyes of the gods thundered. But Ekim refused. He denied the pregnancy. The king, who had stood by the truth, never abandoned her. He took care of Ginika and her household, making sure they lacked nothing. The best royal midwives attended her. The villagers were all in shock. Her friends gathered around her. What people saw as a disgrace had somehow brought greatness. But the parents were not happy their child was disgraced. It was long, and Ginika put to bed a baby. Handsome son, wholehearted, just like the charming prince. The community rejoiced. The baby looked like the prince. But the prince denied. He refused to take responsibility. Suddenly, after the child was born, the royal household was struck with a plague, sickness, incurable sickness that terrified the whole community. Debius were called, but they fled. The gods are angry with the royal house. It was so severe that it took the life of the Igwe's first son. Igwe! The Ezedibia stormed the royal court. If your son refuses to marry that girl and publicly admits that he lay with her, more death will follow. And it was then that Ekim realized his family was in danger. Your son is meant to be king. The girl has been chosen by the gods to be the queen. I am sorry. Your innocent son, the beloved of the community, has had to pay with his life, the Dibia declared. The Igwe wept, he was broken. The wives, daughters, everyone cried, going through pains. Ekim stepped out, fell on both knees and pleaded, I accept. I had carnal knowledge of her. What? The people shouted. I didn't plan it, but it happened. And you kept quiet until your brother had to pay. You fool, have you seen what you have brought to this household? Prepare to marry her and bring her home, the king thundered. And that was how Ginika and the boy with her mother were brought to the palace. Their coming brought healing. Instantly, the torment ceased. Ekim accepted. After a few months, when she was stronger, the traditional rites were performed, and Ekim was crowned the next king. He became a new man. He became a father to a beautiful son, and a friend and kind husband to Ginika. He didn't know what happened, but he could only see a beautiful soul. Dim, she would call, and smile any time they were together. Ginika was celebrated and lifted high. Ginika was celebrated and lifted high. The parents cried and laughed at the same time. Ginika's prediction came true. Ekim knew he had a long way to go, but he was prepared. He protected and loved her. She was trained, nurtured, taught. She became more polished. But one thing was clear. Ginika had won. No child is a mistake. Fate writes our destiny. Disability does not mean that a child is born empty. Find out what works for them. Give them a skill to survive and fit in society. People with disability can also find love. May your children bring you peace and not sorrow. Amen. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched you, please subscribe, comment, and share it with your loved ones. Someone out there might need its message today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What lesson did you take from this tale? Stay tuned for more captivating African stories coming your way soon. Until next time, bye for now.